Good evening, people of Ireland. Welcome back to the Yoke, folks. I'm your host, Mary Butler, and today's episode will be all about the Irish independence movement. But first, a joke to start us off. How do you know if an Irishman is having a good time? He's doubling over with laughter. Okay, that's enough of that. Just a little about me. I'm your wonderful host, Mary Butler, and I'm a proud writer, nationalist, and Irish-speaking activist. I'm a prominent member of the Gaelic League, and I believe that an Irish island is something all revolutionaries should be striving for. Let's welcome our first guest, Thomas Davis.
Well, I'd always been inspired by O'Connell's speeches, which spoke up against the cruelty of English tyranny, and I felt this call to produce something on my own accord. It is easy to see the origins of this independence movement, the Catholics always being excluded politically and economically, and yet it is not easy to mobilize our efforts. So with my friends Charles Duffy and John Dillon, I created The Nation, and I published my poems in it about fearless leaders for Irish autonomy, such as Chieftain Owen Roe O'Neill and Wolfe Tones, to hopefully create the same kind of fury that I had when I listened to his words.
Did you have any other political influences?
Well, I always thought that the German philosopher Hegel was amazing. He had this idea of romantic nationalism. I think it's just exactly right. I believe with this notion that divine right monarchs to govern us, to tell us who we are and who we belong to as a nation, and romantic nationalism throws that all away. It says we cannot be reduced to a preordained sense of being. It is the people, the language, the race that cultivates a national identity. Yet these are the things which are constantly being taken away from us.
Wow, that is quite crazy. Are there any methods to achieving a national cultural identity that you advocate for?
Yes, of course. A large part of my focus lately has been on curriculum reform. I attended Trinity College in Dublin, and I had many wonderful hours spent there. However, the college as an institution was undoubtedly problematic. The college is exclusive, Protestant. That is not what an education should be. All who believe in gaining more autonomy for Ireland recognize the religious repression of Catholics and the unfair distribution of land in Protestant hands. But then you have to ask yourself, why do we see so much injustice? And simply, Mary, it is the fault of our education systems which perpetuates bigotry. But I really do believe that it can be used to foster the righteousness we need to be more egalitarian and unify the Irish people.
Thank you for that interesting viewpoint. And what would you like to see in the curriculum?
I think it may be easier to outline what seemed to probably address your question. I do not see an education which is addressing the struggles of the Irish people. The courses on moral philosophy, which in themselves have constituted hazardous commodities. Because we see again and again that it is the selfish who step forward to lead us. It is the corruption of our ethics which will lead to anarchy and despotism, and we need to create a national identity by learning about who our nation is and what we can do for it. Education must be useful above all else.
Thank you for those very interesting viewpoints, Tom. Just for clarification, what do you like to do in your free time?
Hey, Mary, I've been practicing a main Irish tuning.
Well, that is interesting. Care to show us?
Well, if you insist.
On to our Irish Jig segment with Tom.
Welcome to the streets of Dublin, Ireland. I'm Mary Butler, and here, if you follow us, we'll see Tom doing a traditional Irish jig. Tom? And thank you for that wonderful Irish jig, Tom. And on to our next interview.
Please welcome Countess Markovic.
Yeah! Woo!
Thanks for having
Yeah.
me, Mary. Of course, Countess.
Lovely. pleased to see another woman here in the spotlight. I would like to also say that I founded Fianna Éireann, a nationalist Fianna organisation that instructed teen boys. I was also considered a founding member of Command Nabam and the Irish Citizens Army. Also, with Yeats and a few other artists, we founded the United Arts Club.
My apologies, Countess. You mentioned Yeats. Do you have a history then?
Well, the Yeats I was referring to, John Butler Yeats. So there's a bit of an age gap. He's not really my type. But all the Yeats men and I go way back. My sister Eva and I were childhood friends with poet William Butler Yeats, who you thought I was referring to.
Yes. Well, thank you for the clarification. We still have to get to the Yeats family on the next show. So, as I mentioned in your introduction, out of that list of acclimates, what was your proudest achievement?
Well, in 1918 I was jailed for anti-conscription activities.
Yeah!
Once to prison, I was elected to the Parliament for a constituency of Dublin St. Patrick's. I beat my opponent, William Field, with a 66% vote, and thus became one of 73 Sinn Féin MP elected members. This made me the first woman to be elected in the House of Commons, but due to Sinn Féin's absences policy and my state of incarceration, I did not take the seat. So I would have to say being the first woman elected to Westminster Parliament and among the first female cabinet ministers in Europe has to be up there in my biggest achievements. But since I did not serve in Parliament, I served as Minister of Labour in the First Dáil, as you mentioned, and so with that being said, my biggest achievement was declining a seat in Parliament and serving for the First Dáil.
Yes, a very good accomplishment indeed. You were not just jailed once, however, no, you were jailed 5 times. One of your most prominent jailings was the Easter Rising. Can you explain what that was like, being a woman in the Revolutionary Seal?
Yeah, well, after the Easter Rising, that's really when my political career began. As a member of the Citizens Army, I of course took part in the Rising, how could I not? But I was deeply inspired by the founder of the ICA, James Connolly. I even designed the Citizens Army uniform and composed the anthem based on a Polish song.
Wow.
But my most fond memory of the Rising was at the scene of the College of Surgeons, when I kissed my revolver before handing it over to the British officer at the moment of surrender. After the surrender for the Rising, I was arrested and imprisoned. But while many of the 1916 rebels were executed, I was spared. During the trial, I declared that I thought I did what was right, and I stand by it. The verdict reached by the court of the case was unique. They said I was guilty, death by a shot, but with the recommendation to mercy solely based on the account that I was a woman. The sentence was commuted to serve for life. I was released from prison in 1917 since the government of London granted general amnesty for those who had participated in the Rising, and it was significant, but simply being put, I think the most prominent part about the Rising was that I and all of the other nationalists took part in it. I remember writing to a letter in Cork jail to Esther Roper that all my life was, in a funny sort of way, seems to have led up to that last year, 1916. And it's all just been a hurry-scurry sort of life. Now I feel that I've done what I was born to do.
Wow, that is an interesting story, Countess. Well, there you have it, folks, the Countess of the Irish Revolution. And now introducing our final guest for the evening, please welcome our...
Yeah, Griffith! Let's go!
Alright, yes, first up an introduction. Mr. Griffith here is a very popular politician, writer, and nationalist who fights for the independence of an Irish nation. He led many conversations that led to the Anglo-Irish Treaty, as well as founded the popular political party Sinn Féin. After he acted as the president of Dáil Éireann, the Parliament of the Republic. Now, our first question starts off the segment. Tell us a little bit about how your early life and how it has influenced your values as a political leader.
Why, yes. What a great way to start. So, I grew up in Dublin, you know. Born and raised.
Woohoo! Yeah!
Was brought up by the Irish Christian Brothers. I was a printer for the Gaelic League, which naturally introduced me to topics such as nationalism and an independent Ireland. I eventually travelled to places such as Africa, where I was able to see the destructiveness of the British Empire and other places around the world. This background of mine truly led me to become a nationalist, fighting for truly independent Ireland, and I eventually joined the IRB.
The IRB?
Oh, yes, the Irish Republican Brotherhood.
Yes, silly me. Wow, well, that was quite a childhood you had. Okay, now what were your views on the Home Rule movement?
See, that's a tricky one. Well, you know, I believed in the beginning that Home Rule was an okay option for Ireland to move forward, because I think it could have gained more Irish independence with more autonomy against Britain. However, I think we were going about it in the absolutely most wrong way we could have possibly gone.
Please, continue.
I believe they should have used passive resistance as a way of achieving Home Rule, essentially like refusing taxes, for an example. You know, it's essentially why I created Sinn Féin, because we weren't doing it correctly.
Yes, Sinn Féin. I've heard so much about this party. So, tell me, Mr. Griffith, what were your goals in creating this newfound party? What ideals did you build the institution off of?
I really wanted to unite and advance the advanced nationalists of Ireland. Nationalism is central to building up the Irish economy, which we were going to need if we were going to take on the British, you know? We were already in impoverished needs from the famine from a century before, and we were obviously in dire need of an economy boost. And that is exactly why I created the Sinn Féin movement, so that we could build up this economy in order to take on the British. You know. You know, my dear friend, Michael Collins, I'm sure you've heard of him, of course. He was in need of a steady economy in order to fight them. So we thought that it was a partial focus of the Sinn Féin movement to build up the economy. I also based the movement off of the goal towards essentially forming a dual monarchy with a shared monarchy but different governance.
So, Home Rule.
Yes and no. You know, while the Sinn Féin movement had similar goals to the Home Rule, I believe that all the Home Rule bills did not give Ireland enough autonomy. So, while yes, Sinn Féin's goals was essentially Home Rule, we disagreed with all three Home Rule bills and continued to fight for independence even after they were all signed, for simply they didn't give us enough autonomy.
Wow. Okay, and we also see that you have a lifelong role in the Dáil. What is that like?
Yes. Well, my dear friend, you may know him, De Valera. Bless his soul. He decided to go on vacation, you know, to the US. I naturally stepped in and filled his spot beautifully, I might add.
Is that it?
Well, no, of course not. I also carried out my program of civil disobedience whilst in charge of the Dáil. I also accepted British terms within Westminster that were later involved within the Anglo-Irish Treaty. Well, although I did accept these terms, I wasn't too satisfied with the treaty, considering it gave Ulster its own dominion. Like, similar to Collins' belief on the treaty, I believe it was, you know, the best option Ireland had at that moment. And I thought it could maybe progress Ireland into a further state of independence afterwards.
Now on to our next segment. Thank you, Mr. Griffith.
Thanks, Mary. It was great to be here.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Yoke Folks, and I am joined here by my interviewees, and we will continue the segment in
aren't you gonna introduce us?
I'm sorry, Tom. This is Thomas. Back there we got the Countess, and over here we got Mr. Griffith.
Griffith! Yeah!
And we are now up to our segment of carpool karaoke. Alright, and our first song, suggestions, I'll take suggestions.
Hey, mine! I wanna play mine.
Oh.
We've got, Come Out You Black and Tans, play it.
Okay.
This makes me feel like I'm back at the East Coast Fight me like a man.
It's the Countess's turn.
Yes! Listen to the words. They're truly inspiring. I'm feeling it now. Emotional. God, thank you for this miracle. Amen. Dublin. Woo! God save Ireland. This is the true place of the Easter Rising. Just there's where I killed. This is the building that blew up. I fought for the revolution on that battlefield, second in command. So many lives were lost in the game. So many lives were lost in the soccer game. Long live Ireland! The nation once again.
What a fine, handsome man. Well, quite the scene here.
Nice to see you, Mary.
No! Come on, non banan. Come on, non banan.
Guys, we've run out of gas. I can't go any longer.
I think I hit you, Maggie.
Wait, no, you're neutral.
I hit the side.
It's alright, folks.
It was nice again.
It's an Irish miracle. Yeah.
Don't you have a utensil? Wait, let me use my utensil. Oh. Can I get some potato on my sword? Let me have the first bite, Countess. How about we Lady the Trumpet?
Oh, okay.
Come on, Countess. I'm waiting.
What a beautiful moment between the Countess.
What's your name? Tom. What a beautiful lady.
Countess and the Tom.
So